Okay, hi friends, Doc South here. Just another episode, another little tale from the early days of my life when I lived in Chester, New Jersey, and of course went to school there. Most everybody had to go sooner or later. They'd find you. Yeah, they'd find you, drag you in. Hey, you're going to get some learning there, kid. Okay. Yes, yes, sir. I don't think we had a truant officer. Most of us went. School was also kind of a. I think most of us kids knew that, well, yeah, it was pretty good to go to school. You got to meet all your friends. You had things to do, games to play, pretty good food. Oh, I haven't even touched base on the lunchroom. Oh, and and we had really good teachers. You get right down to it. I've been doing for the past few days episodes, picking one teacher after another, and talking about them. And I'm amazed at the talent we had trying to pound knowledge into our thick little skulls. And I do mean thick. There was one teacher, we're up to 7th grade now. And I've talked about, I think, Mr. DeFalco, Mr. Bragg, of course, Mr. Morris, who taught 6th grade. And but we eventually moved up into the upper level of the elementary school, 7th and 8th grades. All of a sudden, wow, there we were. We even walked around. We had like a homeroom, and then from homeroom we'd go to science and English and math and all the other classes the teachers taught. Actually walked around like we were high school students, and it was pretty neat. One of our teachers. One fellow I want to talk about now is Mr. Mac Dougal. Mr. Mac Dougal taught, I guess, 7th and 8th grade, and I believe his big thing was science. I don't remember that he did anything else, but I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did. I just can't for the life of me think of what it was. But I thought he was, actually he was one of my favorite teachers. They all were. Actually, they all were. But him, well, especially so. I think there was one incident, and I can still, to this day, in a way, I don't know how I could be so stupid. I walked, when you're, when you're in 7th grade, you know everything. Right, of course. And I remember walking into class. You know how you had to carry your books. Okay, you had to carry your books. And I walk over to my desk and I slammed the books on the desk. Yeah, and it made a lot of noise. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and again, I knew it was going to. Yeah, big shot. And all 5 foot of me. And Mr. Mac Dougal was sitting at his desk, I believe. He was sitting at his desk going over his notes for the class. And I don't think he even looked up. He just, when I slammed those books, he kept reading, and he stopped and he said, "Tomlinson, yeah, don't ever slam books on a desk in my room ever again. Now you pick those books up, you leave this room, you come back in and put them down like they should be done." And he kept on going with whatever he was filling out, attendance log or whatever. And I knew that I'd better go pick up those books, carry them back, and come back in politely. When I put them down nicely, he says, "Thank you. Don't ever do that again in my class. Books are valuable." Whoa, he said they're like, well, he didn't say, I don't know if he said this, but he let on that books are like rubies in your hand. Okay. And so, okay. I'll tell you the truth. I don't think I ever slammed a book down again. I'd feel funny doing it. Okay. Anyway, that's the kind of guy. Okay. I think he got this. I think he got this from serving in the military. Maybe it was ingrained in him beforehand, but he certainly, from what I'm told, he told us he served in Korea. I don't know if he was he was infantry, Marines, Army. I'm not sure, but his job was he operated, or he was part of a spotlight crew. Now you say, well, that don't sound too bad. Well, yeah. Not if there's a human wave attack coming over the other side of the mountain, coming up the mountain, coming down their mountain into the valley, and then up to fight with our troops in the dark, coming out of the night. You'd have these, I guess, these waves of humanity. Not all of them armed. If a guy got with a gun, got with a rifle, got shot, well, the guy next to him would pick it up and continue the running. And there were, from what I understand, just thousands of soldiers coming over to get you. And if it was dark, so much the worse, because they were yelling and howling. You can imagine the fear and the scene that would be as you're in your trenches waiting for them. Well, that's where the spotlights came in handy. And Mr. McDougal's crew would turn on the spotlights. And he said, once you turned on those spotlights, well, you can imagine who was the target number one. Yeah, the spotlight. Because they showed where everyone was, and I guess our troops could open fire. It was kind of wasteful to do it otherwise. You see what I'm saying? So I guess he dodged more than his share of bullets and had more than his moments of sheer terror, I'm sure. And I think he, honestly, I think he wanted to, I think when he got back, I don't know if this actually was a what would you call it, a conscious thought, but isn't it interesting that he became a teacher to shed light on, of a different kind, to turn on the lights in little heads like ours. And that seemed to be his dedication. He didn't really tolerate you being stupid, like me slamming the books on the desk, right? Okay. And he'd challenge us, oh my God, with essays and such. I know for some reason, and I don't see what this had to do with science, but he told us one day our assignment would be to write an essay on what it's like to get hung. Yeah. Yeah, we're seventh graders. God, we've seen a few Western movies, but other than that, but you know, I love the assignment. I wish I had whatever it was I wrote. I have no idea. Maybe it's just as well I don't have it around, but can you imagine? And, you know, nowadays I can see parents up in arms over, why did you do that to my child's traumatized, in there in the fetal position, under the bed? We all just kind of go, well, that's quite an assignment. What are you going to write, Tomlinson? I don't know. It's got to be done in a day or two. I know. I just get this. It's quite the challenge, you know, and like that. But yeah, he was always up to stuff like that. And we did get a lot of life lessons out of him. Pretty interesting guy, Mr. McDougal. In later life, I know on occasion, I think he would come. Well, he would visit various. I think. Friends of mine would run into him. I guess maybe by then he was retired, and he'd be at one bar or another having a drink, talking with people. He was reminiscing. Pretty decent guy. Pretty decent guy. I don't know if he's still alive or not. I would hope so, but I honestly I don't know. But I always liked the idea of how he was a person who turned on lights for the right reason after a while, and took the heat for it. Yeah, I don't know. Also, he was a heck of a trumpet player. I'll do that a little later on, maybe in a week or two. I'll just give you a teaser. We had a jazz combo. I think our music teacher, Mr. Krinsky, I think it was Mr. Krinsky, evidently knew some jazz musicians, or maybe maybe it was Mr. McDougal or the English teacher, Mr. Radish. I don't know, but somehow or another we had this really wild jazz group called the Snub Mosley Trio came to town and played a concert for us. It was one of the best things I ever saw in my whole darn life. And I think Mr. McDougal was on stage playing. We had no idea he could play. Yeah, he could do jazz. Cool. You know, so yeah, it's I had some interesting teachers, like I said. Well, Mr. McDougal was one of them. God bless him. Okay. Anyway, I'll see you later, friends. I got to get to work. See you now. Bye-bye.